Welcome to Wrestling is Real.
To be the man, you gotta beat the man, and I'm saying, woo, right here.
Here's the future of wrestling. You can call this the new world order of wrestling, brother.
Day in and day out, I am the best on this microphone, in that ring, even in commentary.
And whether you like it or you don't like it, learn, by God, to love it, because it's the best thing going today.
Celebrating 8 years of podcast excellence, the King of Podcasts Radio Network proudly presents the Wrestling is Real podcast, because wrestling needs us. Back once again with another Wrestling is Real podcast. KOP here with you. I couldn't wait until next week because of all the news that broke in the last couple days here in the world of professional wrestling. So we're just going to get into it. I'll want to just get into whatever there is that we have really quickly and just jump right into it and, you know, let it all out because I got a lot to say about it. So first of all, the releases. Let's get into what Sports Illustrated says about it first. So among other things, WWE released 10 wrestlers from their contracts on Thursday. And here are the names. You've heard them already, but these are the infamous 10 superstars now gone. Samoa Joe, Billy Kay, Peyton Royce, which means the Iconics are gone, Mickie James, Chelsea Green, Tucker, Kalisto, Bo Dallas, Mojo Rawley, and Wesley Blake. Out. As far as I know, there are no other releases yet, left to take out. But that's what's going on right now. John Laurinaitis, the head of talent relations for WWE, was the guy that had to go and tell these stars that they were let go because budget cuts were responsible for the releases. And that's according to the Fightful's Sean Ross Sapp. And it is almost a year ago that the pandemic pay cuts were actually made. The furloughs, if you will, of more than 20 wrestlers happened from financial hardships resulting from the pandemic. So among the names that they have on here is Samoa Joe, former NXT champion. And I forget, wasn't he a former U.S. champion, I think? Or IC. I think he was he also won a mid-card belt, I believe, as well. The biggest name on this list. He has not wrestled since sustaining a concussion while filming a commercial in February 2020. And he's been with the Raw broadcast team for over a year. And now, recently, we saw new changes to the broadcast teams on both Raw and SmackDown. So now Corey Graves joins Adnan Virk, who was originally from ESPN, and Byron Saxton to do Raw, which they did fine, which means Tom Phillips is gone, and Pat McAfee has now joined Michael Cole on SmackDown, which we saw tonight as I record this show just after SmackDown. So I'm going to just go one by the stars. Samoa Joe has so much capital right now. You know, the question I wanted to ask on the program tonight was, where do these stars go now that they're being let go? Where is their destination? Because the companies that are in focus here that could really use some stars and do something right now, they're going to wait, of course, because the live events have not started yet, so their real bread and butter has not come back. So for some of these companies to take new contracts, and AEW could, but they've brought in a lot of new talent. But are there certain stars they could bring in here? And if they do, AEW could very well then drop some stars, as they say, because they are building up a pretty big cadre of stars in their locker room. Do they need to have all those stars? I mean, there is broadcast. They have broadcast time for them with Elevation, Dark Elevation, or Dynamite. And so it's, I don't know what the deals are that they have on certain contracts for certain stars anyway. So I'm not really sure. So we can look at what happens there and see if there's something that can be done where they can be used somewhere. Well, at this moment, I mean, Samoa Joe could go to Japan. I mean, if New Japan would want him, I think they would still have they would definitely use fine use for him. Ring of Honor, I don't know if they have the money to bring him in, but if you wanted to really do something, I mean, Ring of Honor would be best served by taking some of these stars that are out there because they need to. Ring of Honor really needs some star power. They just brought in the Callis, but that's not enough. If they can bring some veterans in to kind of just build back up, because it's not as if they're not used to taking veterans in the first place. They have a lot of veterans of their own. But again, somebody they're one of their own ilk from back in the day in Ring of Honor, sure. I mean, if it would help sustain some of the stars they have now to bring some veteran power, star power into the space. You now have the foundation. Could they do something with the foundation, get some new people to go up against a heel Samoa Joe? Or say, I don't know of the other stars that I think of that would be really out there, but of what I see here, I think Samoa Joe is the one star that we want to definitely see somewhere. I think you definitely see him somewhere. I don't think AEW would pick him up. I mean, Impact, I don't think they would pick him up either. But Samoa Joe would be a good fit for AEW. If he's going to go somewhere, I think that would be it. And the truth is, I think what happens is that if you bring a Samoa Joe in, he becomes a part of Team Taz. Because I think that's where we would be best. Because he would just take over that whole faction. He would be a part of a faction. I don't know, something somewhere. But I could see him coming as part of a faction if they could. If he's ready for it. If he wants to. Because Samoa Joe's not old. I mean, he's got a lot of time. I mean, he still has a whole lot left to do. And in terms of his run in WWE, wasn't bad. I don't think he deserved to be a champion at some point. He should have been main eventing. Definitely, he should have been main eventing for a Universal or WWE Championship. I mean, was kind of, sort of, but never got the chance to run with it, which is unfortunate. And I think the one thing that always held him back, which I was always saying when he moved in there, was he's going to be somebody that Vince McMahon's going to look at and say, yeah, he's fat. He's got to get in shape. And that was the one thing I always thought. But again, I mean, Kevin Owens is a little bit, rotund, but he's kind of held on. But I guess there can only be so many of those guys. Just like a Keith Lee. There can only be one guy that could be the short guy. The small and versatile, resilient babyface. Like Rey Mysterio was that. Daniel Bryan's been that. Who could be that other person? There's only could be so many. And then I look at Samoa Joe and I can say, well, Keith Lee, they try to bring a star like that up. But Kevin Owens is already a star like that. Could a Bronson Reed fill that role? Because I said Bronson Reed is very much like a younger Samoa Joe. Is there room for that? But again, those certain size, girth type of guys, there's only a couple of those in a company at all. It can only be like one big guy. There can only be one certain like style of guy. There's got to be one type of whatever there is. For whatever reason. It's as if, there's only one role for a star that can be a certain way. Can never be another big guy like a Braun Strowman. And things like that. It just, I don't know. I just get kind of that kind of dynamic. For Billie Kay and Peyton Royce, now I get where people are really getting up on this, which has gotten a lot of buzz over in social media anyway, because the Iconics backstage, they were loved. I mean, there's a lot of love for the both of them going out. I mean, look, we can question the wrestling acumen for both. I just think that Billie Kay and Peyton Royce were more of the ilk of divas than they were than this wrestling division. They were kind of odd women out. That's what I felt about them. That didn't fit in the new realm of the women's revolution. I mean, they're not built in the form of Paige or Bayley or Sasha Banks or Bianca Belair for that matter. Or Becky Lynch or Charlotte Flair. They're not that ilk. They're not of that thoroughbred, if you will. Just saying it as a point where it's a certain pedigree of star or athlete that has to be there. Now, they're athletic. They're in great shape. They're both beautiful in different ways. Nothing against. Could Peyton Royce go and find a way to make her way into AEW because her hubby's there? Well, I just think if there's a way for those two to pair each other up again and take their work on the road and go do some live events and keep working off of that. I think they should work better as a tag team and find something to kind of build off of what they were doing, because I think taking that gimmick and running with it, if they can, would be good for them if they can continue to do that. I don't know what they're going to do if they go outside anywhere else. But again, for both of them, I just think that more training for them and working outside of that WWE style would be best for them. Because I think they would be best served to get out of that system. Because again, they did have time in NXT, I guess, for not too long, but they really didn't make much of a difference. We see the style stars that women, the kind of women are being brought in now. There was a change in who was being recruited into NXT now, because the fitness models are not so much what they're going after these days, if you notice. What you're really getting more of, which is what it kind of feel like right now, the same way where it's that look, a real soft, feminine bikini body look. That kind of feel like that's not there with some of the women that they brought on and they took out. Now, Mickie James is not part of that category, because Mickie James is she's a Hall of Famer. She's going to be a Hall of Famer. I mean, if you're putting in Trish Stratus, you're going to put in Molly Holly, you're going to put in Alundra Blaze, Mickie James is in. She is eventually a Hall of Famer. So there you have it. And Mickie James also, in relation to NWA World Heavyweight Champion Nick Aldis, she could always go there. And that's the other thing. I think a couple of stars in this group could definitely, I'll tell you what, of the group that's being let go, I could totally see Bo Dallas going to NWA. I think that Billy Corgan would give, again, just with the ilk of the generation of where Bo Dallas comes from, he looks like somebody that could fit for the NWA. And you could put him in somewhere, do something classic with him. So Bo Dallas, I never thought as Bo wrote, I never, they gave him the Dallas name, and they gave him the gimmick that he had, which I never really cared for. But I thought Bo Rotundo had some promise. And in FCW, he was really good. I liked him in there. And they just always gave him a certain gimmick over in the main event area. By the way, Kurt Axel not let go, which boggles the mind. If they're going to go and let Bo Dallas go, why did Kurt Axel not go? Because they had not used him either in a long time. And I don't know. With that, Billy Kay Peyton Royce, I think if they're not working, I'll tell you what as well, if they're not working with one of the regular TV promotions, they should find themselves in a women's promotion. Once WOW comes back, WOW should pick them up, because that would help out that brand if that ever comes back. Or if there's another women's brand, I think those two would do really well somewhere else. But they should work for like an all-women's wrestling promotion, I think, in somewhere like that, and just get the time to work and do that. Mickie James, I could definitely see NWA. I could see her also go back to Impact. I mean, they're not afraid to bring some of the stars back. They're bringing back Taylor Wilde. They brought back in ODB. They brought back in Jazz. Like they're not, the Impact Wrestling's not anywhere against bringing stars back that have been there for a long time. So Hardcore Country coming back, I'm all in for it. I actually enjoyed Mickie James's run in TNA, because I thought her as a heel was fantastic. Hardcore Country, I loved it. I think she was doing great promos over there. She was doing great work in the Knockouts division. She was one of the better Knockouts. I really liked her there. And honestly, the James Storm, Mickie James, Magnus situation, that was really good. I really enjoyed all of what they were doing with that. It was really, really good stuff. So you could do that. And again, with the baby and all this, James Storm it was just love that whole story. And then the baby coming out, like Mickie James, like getting hit by the train or something like that. Whatever that whole story was, I forgot all about it. But I do remember it was, and it was actually really good. The stalking part, that was really, really good. It was really good. And that's what I remember. Mickie James just had more of a career there. With Mickie James in WWE, I always think of Trish Stratus, because that was her feud. That was the whole lesbian thing. And there were other things, but man, they always mess with Mickie James. The Piggy James stuff, I hated that crap. I liked her as a wrestler. I liked her as a performer. She was good. Very good. And she still is. And why she's just not getting the play right now, I don't know. But again, damn it. Mickie James going somewhere else, not AEW. I think she goes to NWA, or I think she goes back to Impact. Chelsea Green. I'm all for Laurel Van Ness coming back. And David Penzer on Twitter, I follow, talking about let's get Chelsea Chelsea Green or Laurel Van Ness, bring her back to Swingers Palace. Actually, there should be a Swingers Chapel next door. And they play that off, and all of a sudden Laurel Van Ness is back in the wedding gown and still all messed up and somehow looking for Braxton Sutter. I don't know, something like that. But I think you could bring her back, and maybe she finds somebody else she's trying to go ahead and become enamored with. Because I really like the Laurel Van Ness character. I think she had fun doing that. Because she was the whole bitch. Very much what a Maria Kanellis was. It really was the same idea. But Laurel Van Ness also, just pure bitch. Great heel. And the wedding was really crazy. And the way they built the character after that, it was good. I enjoyed the Laurel Van Ness character. Bring her back. Well, once they broke up Heavy Machinery, I don't know what else they had for him, but it's obvious that Tucker became the Marty Jannetty of the group. Otis is the one, and look, Otis has not panned out. They basically just buried whatever opportunity the Otis was. Like, whatever kind of build he was getting, the Mandy Rose stuff, the Money in the Bank, they just took it all away from him. They took it all away. And now he's Alpha Academy and this heel role that sucks. It's not getting anywhere. So Tucker Knight, it's unfortunate. But he could also just go a lot of different places. I mean, there's a lot of room for him to go somewhere else as well. Kalisto, well, for him, just go back to Mexico. Go back to work. Now, are any of these stars that I look at here, I don't see any of them going to MLW. I mean, MLW, Court Bauer could take somebody from this group. If he wanted to, I don't know who we'd want. And Wesley Blake, I don't know either. And Mojo Rawley, I think he doesn't stay in wrestling. I think he does something else. Because the guy just has charisma. He has personality. I think he just does something else. I think he finds something else in the sports that he does. I feel like he can be like the Pat McAfee type of character, and he could do some kind of broadcasting. Like I would say, if an ESPN or a Barstool or a Fox wants to go and look for that guy and use him for something, I think they use him. Because I think that guy can still do something on camera, but he doesn't need to be in the ring. He could just do something else. I think the guy's a personality that could be an on-camera personality for whatever you want. There's something for him, but I think he's more talent on a camera and being a presenter instead of being a performer. That's where I'm coming from. And those are the names. So I'm not so caught up on all the people that got let go, but I still think Samoa Joe is the one standout. And, when I look at what happened last year, let's go ahead and just reflect back on who got let go last year and where things landed for them. So I go back to Sports Illustrated when they talked about this. So last year, the names that were let go, well, they've almost all have landed somewhere. So first, we have Rusev, who's now Miro in AEW. They're not doing a whole lot with him right now. They're giving him a feud with Kip Sabian, and they've done a few things with him. They let him have a main event feature match, but the Miro character's not really gone anywhere yet. He hasn't had any real feuds with anybody. Orange Cassidy to a point, but they haven't really figured out what to do with him yet. Drake Maverick, remember, he came back and he landed in WWE again once again. Now he's working with NXT and he's teamed up with Killian Dane. So he was one that actually got brought back for close. And the whole deal with the contract when he did the Dusty Classic last year. So that was a really great story to see him come back. Zack Ryder, Kurt Hawkins, Impact Wrestling. Carl Anderson, Luke Gallows, Impact Wrestling, and AEW. at the moment. Doing the deal right now where both of them are kind of just colliding in a talent exchange. Heath Slater, who was working at Impact Wrestling and he got hurt. Eric Young, who is back at Impact Wrestling, now Violence by Design. Pretty good faction right now. It's not bad. Rowan, we have not heard from. Sarah Logan, I think wasn't she having a kid? Or she already did? No Way Jose, we have not heard from since. As far as I know, we haven't heard anything from him. Mike Maria Kanellis, they are now working in Ring of Honor once again. EC3 is now a Ring of Honor star, which he did a little bit of a stint with Moose over in TNA or in Impact Wrestling, and then goes to the Ring of Honor after that. Leo Rush, who is now the middleweight champion, and is he the AAA middleweight champion as well? Yes, he's both champions in MLW and AAA. So he's doing just fine. And Primo and Epico, no word from them, but I'm guessing they're in Puerto Rico. And who knows? Whenever the World Wrestling Council comes back up, they could probably be there. Something could happen with them. And that's where they are. And then the other ones that were let go, there was Mike Chioda. Haven't heard from him. Aiden English. No answer from him. I don't know where he's been. And Kurt Angle, he's been doing a podcast since. And there you go. So, of those that were on the list, there were a lot that found their way somewhere. But again, it wasn't as if AEW went hog wild bringing on stars. And nobody else did either. We're looking at AEW, they picked up Miro of this list, and that's it. It's Impact Wrestling that picked the number of stars up off of this, where Zack Ryder, Kurt Hawkins, Karl Anderson, Luke Gallows. And those were all, and Heath Slater. So 5 stars there. They made their way pretty extensively, and they gave a little bit of a boost to Impact's ratings as a result, because people were talking about Slammiversary when they all came in. That came a bit of a boost. So when I look at what happens here, think of the same thing now. As that there are just certain stars that will get brought over, that will get looked at. And the other thing, too, is that with Impact Wrestling, they're not afraid of letting certain stars go ahead and get moved on from what they're doing right now either. So Impact can always go ahead and release certain stars if they want to. And they'll replace with some of these stars that might be somebody that they look at here. But again, no one is... I said, but again, there's still something to be said about the stars that are here and who could go somewhere else. Like I said, if we're going to see anybody go to AEW at all, it's Samoa Joe. That's the only guy I see going to Ring of Honor at all. I say Billy Kay and Peyton Royce should go ahead and find a women's promotion and continue the tag team run. If Peyton Royce can go ahead and go somewhere and make it AEW somehow, I don't know how. I don't think she fits in the role that AEW is doing right now with the women's division anyway. And they have a lot of women's stars right now that are, really good. They got a really nice... They have a very expansive locker room right now for the women, so they're doing just fine there. Like I said, Mickie James, I think she's NWA bound. I think she goes there, and she could work with Melina and Thunder Rosa and Allison Kay and stars like that once NWA is fully integrated. And I have not watched Power since it moved over to Fight TV. It sucks that it moved over there, and I need to find time to go and watch it. Just haven't had a chance. I'll say Chelsea Green definitely goes back to Impact Wrestling. She'll go back as a Laurel Van Ness character. It works. And I think Bo Dallas is also NWA bound. That's what I think they go. And Mojo Rawley, I think he goes somewhere on TV somewhere. They're gonna give him something. He should just audition for parts and stuff and be like an MC for like a reality show or some kind of a game show, or do something in sports, whether it's podcasting or working some sports broadcast, something. He works for that. He's just that kind of star. I think it really works for him. And I can't say what comes up for Wesley Blake. I don't have any idea what he comes through next. Now, speaking of Impact Wrestling, they are definitely getting people talking right now. And one of the things that's got people really talking a lot happened yesterday, because there was an announcement made for the main event of Rebellion coming up April 25th. And what it is It's who will be the lead announcer calling the main event, Impact Rebellion, which is, of course, title versus title. AEW World Heavyweight Champion Kenny Omega takes on Impact World Heavyweight Champion Rich Swann. Mauro Ranallo calling the action. He will be, for that match alone, at the Rebellion pay-per-view. It's incredible. Now, we have not heard from Mauro Ranallo on television since August 2020. If I'm correct, I think he's done some work in boxing or MMA, I forget which one, since. But he'll be his first pro wrestling announcing since August 2020. And again, he just wants to be able to go and work, but not be stuck to a schedule. So this feature announcing part is nice. He doesn't feel like he has... I feel like he doesn't feel like he has any kind of allegiance to anybody. He just likes to be wherever he wants to go work. And it's probably he doesn't feel like he didn't enjoy working in WWE, because I think he got to work like he wanted to. Doing NXT, he did very well. Obviously, he did. Listen, he's great. He's a great announcer. And the guy, when it's good matches, yeah, you like to have him. He made NXT takeovers fun. Like, he's missing now. And when it was him and Nigel McGuinness, it's just awesome. Awesome. They were a great announce team together. That was legendary. But that's also with Nigel McGuinness. He's good in his role. He was really good. I thought he was really good with Kevin Kelly. Probably my favorite announce team there was in Ring of Honor anyway. And they were around for the best time of Ring of Honor. They were there for the heydays before WWE pillaged the entire roster. Now, to know that it's not a shot to Matt Striker or D'Lo Brown to take this spot, I think Matt Striker would have been doing fine with a role like this, but hey, you want to step it up a little bit. This match means something. Omega and Swann, they did a great job of the press conference leading up to it. I really enjoyed that. And the build to the whole show has been really good. They got some good matches going on. So people are already talking about, just for that alone, they're going to watch Impact Wrestling's Rebellion pay-per-view coming up next Sunday, which, of course, we will be doing a post show for right here at WrestlingIsReal.com. The matches we have for that card so far, Fire and Flavor now have been announced to take on Jordynne Grace and a to-be-determined, which I think it is Jordynne Grace and Jazz, for the Impact Knockouts Tag Team title. Then you got an 8-man tag team match. Chris Sabin, Eddie Edwards, James Storm, and Willie Mack versus Violent by Designs. Eric Young, Diener, Joe Doering, and now the newest member, Rhino. Last man standing match, good stuff with Sami Callihan and Trey Miguel. That's a very well done feud. I'd like to see Trey Miguel get over on this. Sami Callihan just doing the right thing here, just working with certain guys, just working with who he wants to work with, and building some really crazy crap. Like him and Eddie Edwards were tearing it down, doing matches together. That was a hell of a feud. And that's what Sami Callihan does. And his stuff with Ken Shamrock, same thing. It's just another level with Sami Callihan. He's just the guy that doesn't care about being the champ. He's been the champ. But he wants to do other things. Like the work with Tessa Blanchard. His work with Tessa Blanchard was so good. It's a shame that Tessa Blanchard has not landed somewhere. Why is she not landed in some promotion? I don't know if she's just been so toxic right now that's not going away yet. But it's too bad. She could be doing so good somewhere else. As far as I know, also, the Women of Honor have not been on Ring of Honor TV this much, right? Have they? In the last pay-per-view match, the 19th anniversary, I don't think they had a women's match, right? Done nothing like that. Mack Cardona versus Brian Myers. It's not a match I've cared about yet. It's just not. X Division title, like the 4 matches leading up are going to be good. They got 4, well, yeah, I'm still going to say that. They got a couple of good matches going towards the main event. So Ace Austin versus Josh Alexander versus THP. That's going to be a throwdown match. X Division title. That's really good. And Josh Alexander with TJP. That was a hell of a match they had on Impact on Thursday night. Good stuff. But Ace Austin right now X Division champion. We haven't seen a whole lot of him. But a good featured match. Again, this guy is young. And I said again that time because I've said this many times before. I'm just repeating myself. Ace Austin, also just like MJF, young star. I'm still surprised he's still in Impact Wrestling, but man, they got him under contract. They're working with him. And at some point, right now, Ace Austin's not looking at the main event belt. He's not looking at the world title when he could, but they could do something with that somewhere down the line. No moves, by the way, in this pay-per-view. With all the appearances he's had, he's not on this pay-per-view this time. Deonna Purrazzo versus Tenille Dashwood for the Impact Knockouts title. I actually enjoyed the All About Me segment where Gia Miller, the announcer, the backstage interviewer, called out locker room talk. Isn't this a locker room talk stage? It's like, thank you for doing that. I know we were all talking about that. We're all thinking that as well for watching Impact. So that should be a decent match. Tenille Dashwood hasn't been really pushed up that high up the card, so they're giving him the feature spot right now. It's because Deonna Purrazzo this is like the opponent of the month right now. That's where they're going with it right now, and that's fine. FinJuice versus Good Brothers Impact World Tag Team Championships. That's good. That should be a really good match. And again, I'm saying again because that was a good time for that. Okay. And more importantly, Rich Swann, representing Impact, taking on Kenny Omega, representing AEW, alongside Invisible Hand Don Callis, title versus title, Impact World title, and the AEW World title on the line. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. And they're trying to make it where Rich Swann, because of Hardcore Justice and the 6-man tag they had, they made the seed of doubt. They planted that where Rich Swann got the pin on Omega to create the seed of doubt that Omega could drop the belt. And nobody's talking about this. If I'm right, I don't think I've heard that much on Dynamite talking about Kenny Omega going to Impact. Because they don't make that much of a point about Kenny Omega going over to Impact Wrestling. Because also Rich Swann has not gone over to AEW. There has been no crossing over of those two. Kenny Omega, yes, but Rich Swann has not crossed over the other side, which is important. So with that said, what happens here? Is there any chance we get a swerve and the upset happens and Rich Swann, who is the underdog in this match, Rich Swann becomes dual champion? What? Would they allow Rich Swann to be AEW and Impact World Champion? They pulled that would shock the wrestling world. It would overshadow WWE headlines. It would. Just saying. Okay, one more thing before we wrap things up. And this was a story that also caught my attention that I thought was very important. And people don't want to talk about this much, but it does need to be said. Now, NXT pulled over 800,000 viewers as we thought it was going to pull a good number. Now, they did. So, unopposed, NXT pulled a good number. They got me watching as well. Excellent. And what did it do for AEW? Well, I thought 1 million viewers. I thought they could get near. I thought it would be 900,000. Even I was amazed to read that AEW Wednesday Night Dynamite, per Showbiz Daily, that the numbers they got for the April 14th episode of Dynamite got 1.219 million viewers. The best number they ever got. Best number they ever got. And they were second best overall in the 18 to 49 year old demographic. The advertising gold mine. That's the audience that is most concentrated in watching cable television right now. Number for that night. And the show went up, what, about 40% from the week before? And so, with AEW Dynamite, that says everything. Can they keep that up? Now, did they hotshot the booking of the show? No. I feel like AEW Dynamite gave us a show like we always get, which is good. Really enjoyed Young Bucks, Ray Phoenix, and Pac. That was, forget about it. Blow-away match. Young Bucks are great heels. And we haven't seen a lot of these Young Bucks. Like Dave Meltzer's talked about it because he saw it in PWG. I never got to watch that stuff. But like I like Young Bucks as heels. Super Kick Party on Ring of Honor. Good stuff. And now, Bullet Club, Elite. It's good. I'm enjoying all that. And I'm loving all the stables. Like I enjoy the Pinnacle Inner Circle stuff. Dax Harwood, Chris Jericho. Apparently they got the highest rating of any segment throughout AEW Dynamite, which is interesting. And AEW Dynamite was just good. Like it was a good show. NXT also a good show. And they gave us good matches. Everything worked out. Now that we have everybody no longer topping over each other, I feel like that the balance, the pendulum is now in the middle. Like everything is balanced as it should be for wrestling. Everything is as it should be. Raw Monday nights, NXT Tuesday, Dynamite Wednesday, Impact Thursday, SmackDown Friday. Wrestling is good. Wrestling is where it needs to be. And as for me, I can still watch wrestling roughly 7 nights a week if I want to, because I still got to go catch up on NWA, and I still got to catch up on MLW because I haven't watched their show this week yet. Because, it comes on before Dynamite. I never go ahead and decide to, because I'm recording the show afterwards, so I'm not going to watch it on Wednesday nights. And because I'm doing my other podcast on Thursdays and Fridays, I just don't have time for it. I'll wait till Saturday to go and watch it and catch back up. But I'm glad it all worked out for everybody. So, in the whole lexicon of wrestling right now, there are other promotions, they should be able to go and get some move up, because right now, AEW should be able to go ahead and start making some momentum up with more possible viewers watching their show. There's no excuse for them now to not have people watching their show or to find a reason for people to go out of their way to watch on Wednesday nights. There is nothing wrestling related that could get in their way. So we have that going for us. Same thing for NXT. Now the exposure for people, if they want to go and watch and they're a WWE fan and they want to watch something during the middle of the week, they can watch NXT unopposed on USA. No excuse they can't watch it. If they want to watch wrestling, they'll know certain stars that are there that are familiar, and they'll watch. Works out for everybody. Okay, that's my show. That's what I need to go and get covered and take care of it, and I have done it. So you got that, because I don't want to go and cover this all late on Wednesday night after it's all been said and done, especially after the weekend. Wasn't going to work out. So this show comes out tonight because there was just too much news to not talk about. I didn't want to do like when I'm not podcasting, Wrestling or Extra. There was just too much. Listen, I got 38 minutes out of this show tonight. Almost 40 minutes. It's almost like a regular show. So you got a pretty good amount, and you got a weekend edition of the Wrestling podcast. Hey, if you like the second edition, just let me know. Maybe I'll make it more common if I want to. But I covered an hour, and now we're here. So do I want to go back and do that again? I don't know. But for right now, this is fine. We had to get this done tonight. So we're going to leave it there. Thank you for listening in. Subscribe to the show as you always do. We don't want to hear subscribe because Apple says don't use subscribe because it sounds like a paywall. But there's no paywall here. Follow the show. Check out all the stuff the big news, the big voice guy says right now coming after this. And we'll come back next week for another Wrestling is Real podcast, because wrestling needs us. Thank you for listening to the Wrestling is Real podcast. You can find all previous episodes at WrestlingIsReal.com or subscribe to the show on all major podcast outlets, including Apple, Amazon, Google, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Follow the King of Podcasts on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at King of Podcasts, and search King of Podcasts on YouTube, or type youtube.com/JBRASCO951. This has been a presentation of the King of Podcasts Radio Network.